Death is not an ending. It's frequency shifting. The body stops, the signal continues, the form dissolves, the frequency persists. But men treat death like it's termination. It's not. It's architecture, transitioning states, like ice becoming water, becoming vapour. Same essence, different density, same signal, either form or formlessness. The coherent man approaches death like graduation. The distorted man approaches it like it's annihilation, not because one believes and the other doesn't, but because one has clean architecture and the other doesn't. Clean architecture transitions smoothly. Distorted architecture shatters. This isn't about afterlife beliefs, it's about frequency mechanics. Watch how someone approaches death and you'll see their entire architecture revealed. The man who's integrated his shadows meets death without terror, not because he's brave, because there's nothing hidden to be exposed. No unfinished business pulling him back, no unintegrated shadows clawing for resolution, no unlived life demanding completion. The man who's lived in performance meets death with panic, not because he's weak, but because the performance is ending and he doesn't know what's underneath. The costume is coming off, the mask is dissolving. The show is over and he never met who he actually was. Death is the ultimate audit, the final frequency check, the moment when all distortion becomes visible. Every lie you've lived gets exposed, every performance gets stripped, every false structure collapses as physics, not as judgment. False structures can't transition, they can only shatter. Performed identities can't transform, they can only dissolve. Distorted frequencies cannot shift smoothly, they can only fragment. Only what's real remains, only what's true transitions, only what's coherent continues. This is why some people die peacefully and others die in agony. Not physical agony, frequency agony. The agony of distortion being forcibly resolved, of false architecture being demolished, of performed identity being erased. The agony of meeting yourself for the first time at the last moment. The Tibetans knew this, the Egyptians understood this. Every mystery school taught this. Death preparation isn't spiritual practice, it's architectural engineering. Building structures that can transition, creating coherence that can transform, developing frequency that can shift states without shattering. They spent lifetimes preparing, not for death, but for transition, not learning about the afterlife, but building an architecture that could navigate it. They didn't study maps of the beyond. They became coherent enough to traverse it. The modern world has forgotten this. We treat death like a medical event, like some kind of biological failure, something to prevent or avoid or defeat. Spending billions to add years to life, never asking what life is being extended. Prolonging the body, ignoring the frequency, extending the form, neglecting the architecture. But death isn't the enemy, distortion is. Death just reveals it, it intensifies it, and it resolves it, one way or another. The man who dies coherent releases into expansion, his frequency freed from form, his signal unbound from structure, like a river reaching ocean, like a wave returning to sea, like a note dissolving into a beautiful symphony, natural, inevitable, complete. The man who dies distorted experiences disillusion. His false structures collapse. His performed identity evaporates. His unintegrated shadows consume him. Like ice shattering instead of melting, a building imploding instead of transforming. Like static finally losing signal. It's violent, it's chaotic, it's fragmenting. It's the same event, just different physics. Now, this isn't about good or bad. It's about being real or performed. It's not about earning heaven or hell. It's not about moral judgment. It's about creating coherence or chaos. It's about structural integrity. The architecture you build in life determines how you transition in death. Build clean, transition clean. Build distorted, transition violently. Not as punishment, as physics. The cells know this. Watch them die. The coherent cell releases gratefully. It's like a programmed transition, a clean dissolution, organised return. The distorted cell dies violently, necrosis, chronic fragmentation, toxic spillage, destructive dissolution. Same with consciousness, same physics, different scale. The invitation isn't to prepare for death, it's to live so coherently that death is just another transition, like walking from one room to another, changing from one form to another, like shifting from one frequency to another, natural, inevitable, architectural. Build your life like you're building a bridge, not to somewhere else, but something that cannot become something else. Live your days like you're composing music, not for a performance, but as frequency that can shift octaves. Inhabit your form like you're wearing clothes, not as identity, but as temporary expression of eternal frequency. Then death loses its terror, not through belief, but again through architecture, not through faith, through physics, through coherence. Stop fearing death. Start building architecture that can transition. Stop avoiding endings. Start creating coherence that transforms. Stop performing life. Start being real enough to die clean. Death isn't the test. Life is the preparation. How you live determines how you die. How you build determines how you transition. How you integrate determines how you transform. Build accordingly. Live accordingly. Die accordingly. Welcome to The Architect Speaks.